Let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. Have you ever been with a girl where everything looked right, but felt wrong? She replied to your texts, she laughed at your jokes, she showed up to dates. On paper, it was working, but deep down, you could feel it. Something was missing. She wasn't chasing you. She wasn't emotionally leaning in. And the moment you weren't around, you disappeared from her mind. You weren't the guy she craved. You were the guy she settled for. And that realization hits a man hard. Because here's the brutal truth no one says out loud. A woman doesn't fall for the man who is always there. She falls for the man she can't stop thinking about when he's gone. Today, I'm going to show you how that shift actually happens. Not through tricks, not through manipulation, not through pretending to be someone you're not, but by understanding how attraction really works from a man's perspective. This isn't about becoming cold or distant, it's about becoming mentally unforgettable.
Part 1. Why most men get stuck at, "She's kind of into me." I remember a phase in my life where I thought I had dating figured out. I believed attraction worked like a formula. Be nice, be consistent, be available. So that's exactly what I did. I treated her well. I showed up on time. I replied quickly. I made my intentions clear. And logically, it made sense. If I'm doing everything right, she'll grow closer, right? But something strange kept happening. She liked me, she enjoyed spending time with me, but she never leaned in emotionally. She wasn't chasing, she wasn't curious, she wasn't thinking about me when I wasn't there. That's when I realized something most men never see. Attraction isn't built on logic, it's built on emotion. A woman doesn't fall deeper because everything feels safe and certain. She falls deeper when her emotions are activated. The moment I became predictable, her mind relaxed. She knew when I'd text, she knew what I'd say, she knew exactly how I felt. There was nothing left to discover. And when her mind relaxed, it stopped focusing on me. No anticipation, no curiosity, no emotional tension. I wasn't a question anymore. I was an answer. And that's the most dangerous place a man can be, because now you're stuck in the middle. She likes you, but she's not invested. She's comfortable, but she's not hooked. She enjoys you, but she's not choosing you. And the worst part? You're doing everything right. You're respectful, you're reliable, you genuinely care. But instead of building attraction, that predictability slowly puts it to sleep. Not because you're boring, not because you're unattractive, but because attraction needs movement, and certainty creates stillness. That's how men get stuck at, "She's kind of into me," and never understand why it never goes deeper. Part 2. Never become a guarantee. Let me tell you a story. I once dated a girl where everything felt right. The conversations were easy, the chemistry was there. She smiled, she laughed, she stayed close. So I did what most men do. At the end of every date, I made things clear. I had a great time. I'll text you tomorrow. When can I see you again? In my mind, I was being confident, honest, secure. But something strange started happening. She didn't pull closer. She slowly relaxed. Her replies came later, her excitement softened. The energy changed, quietly. That's when I realized something most men never see. The moment a woman feels she completely has you, her emotional investment stops growing. Not because she's cold, but because the human mind doesn't chase what already feels secured. Think about anticipation. The best part of a vacation isn't always the trip itself. It's the countdown, the planning, the "I can't wait." Attraction works the same way. When I stopped explaining what came next, everything shifted. One night, instead of laying out plans, I simply smiled and said, "That was fun. We'll continue this." And I left. No reassurance, no promises, no next step explanation.
The next morning, she texted me because her mind had something to hold on to. That small gap, that uncertainty, created mental noise. And mental noise turns into curiosity. Curiosity turns into attention, and attention turns into desire. That's when I learned the truth. You don't create attraction by locking things down, you create it by leaving space. Never become a guarantee, because what's guaranteed is never obsessed over. Part 3. Unpredictability is not ignorance. Most guys get this part completely wrong. They hear the word unpredictable and assume it means disappearing, taking hours to reply on purpose, acting cold, acting like they don't care. That's not confidence. That's insecurity wearing a mask. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I thought being unpredictable meant pulling back completely, so I tried it. I ignored messages. I replied dry. I went silent. And all it did was push her away. Because real unpredictability isn't about absence, it's about breaking patterns. Let me explain. I once noticed something about myself. Every single morning, I sent the same good morning text. Same time, same words. And one day, without thinking much about it, I didn't send it. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. Hey, everything okay? That's when it clicked. The brain hates broken patterns. When something predictable disappears, the mind rushes to fill the gap. Not with logic, with imagination. She wasn't thinking, he doesn't like me anymore. She was thinking, why is he different today? And that single question did more than 100 reassurances ever could. True unpredictability is subtle. If you usually reply instantly, reply later sometimes. If you always make the plans, let her wonder once in a while. If you always initiate, allow space. You're not disappearing, you're creating movement. And movement keeps the mind engaged. Because when expectations break, attention sharpens. And when her attention sharpens, she's thinking about you. That's where attachment begins. Part 4. Become a man with depth. For a long time, I didn't realize why women lost interest in me so easily. On paper, I was solid. I was the nice guy, the reliable one, the hard-working one. And that was the problem. I was easy to define. Most men live inside one label: funny, quiet, ambitious, spiritual. They pick one and stay there. But attraction doesn't grow from simplicity. It grows from contrast. I noticed something interesting when I looked at the men women stayed emotionally hooked to. They weren't perfect. They weren't always predictable. They had layers. Calm, but they could be intense. Kind, but they had boundaries. Disciplined, but playful when it mattered. You never fully figured them out. And the human brain loves what it can't completely solve. That's why flawed characters stay memorable. That's why mystery lasts longer than perfection. When a woman thinks she fully understands you, her curiosity shuts down. There's nothing left to explore. But when you surprise her, when you reveal a different side at the right moment, her interest deepens. Because now she's discovering you, not categorizing you. And discovery creates desire. The goal isn't to confuse her, it's to give her depth. Because a man with layers stays in her mind longer than a man she figured out on day one. Part 5. Why too nice kills attraction. This is the part most men don't want to hear. Because we're taught that being nice is the answer. Be polite, be understanding, avoid conflict. And let me be clear, being nice is not the problem. Being harmless is. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I avoided disagreement at all costs. If she liked a restaurant I didn't enjoy, I agreed. If she changed plans last minute, I smiled. If something bothered me, I swallowed it. I thought I was being mature, but what I was really doing was removing emotional friction. And friction creates heat. Without it, attraction goes cold. Women don't want chaos. They don't want drama for no reason. But they do want contrast. They're drawn to a man who challenges them, a man who has opinions, a man who doesn't collapse under pressure just to keep the peace. Sometimes tension is attractive. Sometimes disagreement is memorable. One night, instead of agreeing automatically, I calmly stood my ground. No anger, no ego, just certainty. And I saw something shift. Respect. Because in that moment, I wasn't trying to be liked. I was being solid. And here's the truth most men miss. A woman may enjoy how nice you are, but she respects the man who respects himself. And respect fuels attraction far more than approval ever will.
Part 6. Drama doesn't mean disorder. When most men hear the word drama, they immediately think of chaos, arguments, fights, emotional instability, so they try to remove drama completely. I did the same thing. I thought the perfect relationship meant everything staying calm, no tension, no emotional waves, just peace. But that version of peace came with a cost. Her emotions went quiet, and quiet emotions don't obsess. Here's what I eventually understood. Drama doesn't mean disorder. Drama means movement, ups and downs, push and pull, presence and absence. When everything is smooth and predictable, her emotional system relaxes too much. There's nothing to react to, nothing to feel. She might say she wants peace, and she does on a logical level, but emotionally, she responds to stimulation. That doesn't mean being inconsistent or unreliable. It means not flattening the emotional experience. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you pull back, sometimes you surprise her. That controlled unpredictability keeps her engaged. Because emotions stay awake when there's movement, and when her emotions stay awake, you stay on her mind.
Part 7. Mystery is the strongest currency. There was a time when I believed clarity was everything. I thought if I explained myself clearly, if I shared every detail, if I answered every question immediately, she would feel closer to me. So I did exactly that. I narrated my day. I explained my silences. I made sure she never had to wonder where I was or what I was thinking. And slowly, something faded. Her curiosity. That's when I learned the difference between secrecy and mystery. Mystery isn't hiding, it's selective revelation. It's knowing that not every thought needs to be spoken, not every silence needs an explanation, not every moment needs a label. When you explain everything, you close all the open loops, and the human brain doesn't stay attached to closed loops. Unanswered questions, on the other hand, circle the mind. She wonders, what is he doing right now? Who is he with? Why did he say that and smile? And whatever loops in the mind grows. That's why the man who explains everything kills curiosity without realizing it. But the man who leaves space, who allows her imagination to step in, becomes unforgettable. Because now, she's not just reacting to you, she's thinking about you. And mystery is the strongest currency there is. Not because it confuses her, but because it keeps her mind engaged long after you're gone. Part 8. Why men sabotage themselves. Here's the hard truth most men don't want to face. We sabotage attraction not because we don't care, but because we care too much. The moment we feel something real, fear creeps in. The fear of losing her. The fear of not being enough. The fear that if we don't lock things down, someone else will. So we start doing more. We over-communicate. We explain everything. We check in constantly. We think reassurance will pull her closer, but slowly it does the opposite. I've been there. The more I tried to secure the connection, the less space she had to feel desire. Because attraction doesn't grow in comfort alone. It grows in earned certainty, not guaranteed access. When everything is available on demand, there's nothing left to choose. And desire needs choice. Chasing doesn't make her feel special. It makes her feel pursued.
But when you step back just enough, when you stop trying to control the outcome, you give her something powerful. Space. Space to wonder. Space to miss you. Space to decide. And when a woman chooses you on her own, that choice carries far more emotional weight than anything you could ever force. That's when attraction deepens. Not because you grabbed tighter, but because you trusted yourself enough to let her come closer. Part 9. The balance that makes her stay. This is where most men lose the game, not because they do too little, but because they swing too far in one direction. I've seen it happen both ways. Some men pull back too hard. They think distance creates value, so they disappear, and she detaches. Others do the opposite. They're always available, always responding, always present, and she relaxes. Neither creates attraction. What actually makes a woman stay is the balance between the two. I learned that attraction lives in the middle, tension with warmth, confidence with curiosity, presence with absence. You show interest, but you don't chase. You lead, but you don't cling. You're there, but you're not always there. That balance keeps her emotionally engaged without making her feel pressured or neglected, because emotionally, she never quite settles, not in a stressful way, but in a stimulating one. She feels connected, yet curious, secure, yet intrigued, and that emotional state is powerful. That's what makes her stay. Not intensity alone, not distance alone, but the man who knows exactly when to lean in and exactly when to step back. Part 10. The final shift most men never make. There's one final realization that changes everything, and almost no man makes it early enough. Most men spend their energy trying to get attraction, trying to earn it, trying to secure it. But attraction isn't something you grab, it's something you allow. I remember the moment this finally clicked for me. I stopped asking myself, how do I make her like me? And I started asking a different question. Am I living in a way that gives her something to feel? That shift changed everything. I stopped monitoring her reactions, stopped chasing validation, stopped adjusting myself to keep her interested. And ironically, that's when women leaned in. Because attraction doesn't grow when you're focused on her response. It grows when you're grounded in yourself. When you have a life that moves forward with or without her approval. When your presence feels calm, not needy. When your absence feels noticeable, not forced. That's when she doesn't just like you, she feels you. And here's the part most men miss. You don't need to act. Attraction isn't about doing more. It's about doing less with intention. Less explaining, less chasing, less trying to prove your value, and more presence, more depth, more emotional movement. When you stop trying to hold on to her and start giving her space to feel you, that's when everything shifts. Because the goal was never to be liked, it was to be felt. And when a woman starts thinking about you without you trying, that's real attraction. Now, if this video made you see things differently, if it explained moments from your own life you couldn't understand before, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Every video here breaks down attraction from a man's perspective, without games, without fake confidence, without manipulation. So instead of subscribing just because, subscribe because you're done being the guy she's kind of into. Subscribe because you're ready to become the man she can't stop thinking about. And I'll see you in the next one.